country, like continually top 10, top 15. You think about, I mean, it's not his fault that, I mean, how do I say this? Kids are coming because, or kids are not coming because we are losing the games. Not because the defense sucks, but because the past few years offense can't score a point and, we end up losing the game. Rumph has done an incredible job with these kids. And so, I don't know, like it's not Rumph's, like you can't put all the blame on Rumph when his group of players has been performing better than any other position groups on the Hurricanes the past few years.
Yeah, I'm not sure I entirely agree with you. You're right that they've been performing well, but I don't know, man. What Manny was saying about how, it's all about wins and losses and stuff, like I agree with to an extent, but at the same time, there are position coaches that are killing it in recruiting for us. Dude, look at our running back room. Look at, Coach Field with the tight ends. Dude, so we lost to FIU, and I'm going to speak the forbidden name. Dan Neen is still in Tyler Van Dyke. And Garen Justice is now landing all these O-linemen, and like it's not like all of our position coaches are struggling to recruit. And that's kind of what is like the deal breaker for me, I guess, with Rumph is that I don't think you can totally lean on that, or we're not winning, so we're not going to get kids, because we are still getting kids.
Yeah.
I
hear you. There's definitely, there's just like a few different ways you can look at it. Oh my God, I just had a thought in my head, but, did anyone actually think we were like Jason Marshall was going to put us in his top 3, the top 5 cornerback or a 5-star cornerback? Like,
yeah, I didn't, but I've not very vocally, but been on the time to move on bandwagon for about a year and a half, 2 years now.
Yeah, I just don't like how we wait. It just seems like we wait to the very last second, and
yeah,
and I'm not like a huge Rumph fan, but I'm not like a huge Rumph hater like some of the people on Twitter. I'm just like it's a make or break here for him. Like he's got to pull in some good guys at cornerback. And right now, we have 2 guys committed right now, both 3 stars. But like why didn't we offer Steven Ortiz? Why aren't we offering these kids that?
Oh, dude, don't even get me started on the Steven Ortiz thing. So I think the last straw for me was this last class when, we're not really hearing about any prospects that he's developing relationships with. There's not really any guys that jump off the page. And then again, for the second year in a row, after signing day, he doesn't land anyone on early signing day. And then he pulls a few names out of his hat of kids that we've never heard of that were mostly linked to other schools, but for whatever reason didn't sign on early signing day. And I don't want to be disrespectful to those kids. But I just have a hard time believing.
It's a tough situation.
It is, because I don't want to crap on these kids. But, like when people say, oh, like this kid had interest from an SEC school, it's like, well, why didn't he end up there? Because Rumph struck out on everyone else. So, I almost kind of wonder if there was some musical chairs action, and then that recruit was kind of left on, without a place to sit, and then Rumph jumped in.
Well, it's also, we have to break it down and ask ourselves, because the thing is he's still developing these players. They turn into solid players, but think about if we're able to get these 4 or 5-star cornerbacks, develop them then. Those are all Americans, and
yeah, and I guess we'll see, because I thought our corners were pretty bad last year for most of the year.
Andy definitely took a step down.
Yeah. So if Blades comes out here, or Ivy or Couch or any of them come out and they're like 3rd team all ACC, then I'll eat some crow and I'll give them more time. But the thing is if we have 2 really bad years at corner back to back, and he's not replenishing the talent like he should be,
Yeah.
Then like if we let that go on for 3 or 4 years, then we'll have to rebuild that position room from the ground up, and it'll be really bad.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to rip off. I mean, if you're Manny, sometimes you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. And,
Yeah.
I know Rump's a hurricane, but and I think we need to move on from Banda. What's the other one? Patke?
Patke.
Yeah, I think it may be time to move on just a little bit, because I mean, look at what's happening with our offensive staff. I mean, 3 guys who they don't have ties to Miami or anything like that, but it's the breath of fresh air that at least recruiting we've needed.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind if Banda stayed on. I think he's been probably our best recruiter on defense, which that's not saying a ton because we're really not landing great talent besides defensive ends. I guess our safeties have been decent. Well, I guess that's Banda, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even DNs, we're not getting these 4 or 5-star kids. I mean, I think Garvin was a 3-star, Greg Rousseau was a 3-star. We've just been able to develop them great.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So Banda's probably head and shoulders our best recruiter on the defensive side of the ball. So, if he stayed, I wouldn't care. I'm with you on Patke, though. Dude, what is going on with the recruiting of linebackers? I mean, who's in charge of that? Is that Manny's job or is that Patke?
I think it's Patke now and Blake Baker. But I mean, I didn't even realize that linebacker, I was just reminded that, linebacker is a really, I mean, because McLeod's gone after this year, and I like Huff and Brooks, but I mean, we have a bunch of other guys who have always been injured, so.
Yes.
Oh, damn, we got to get some linebackers.
I like those guys, but the cupboard is bare.
Exactly. I mean, and we'll just keep putting ourselves in the same position where we just don't have any depth. Then we're playing Ryan Rigatoni at linebacker because we don't have anyone else.
I'm really worried about defense because I feel like, I feel like at linebacker and at corner and, possibly even D tackle, who are the next guys up? If we don't land some high impact freshmen in the next class or two, we could be really in trouble, or we could be in a lot of trouble in the next year or two at those position groups. It could be 2023 and it's we landed a few freshman studs, but they're not ready for 2 years, and then we have no one.
And I'll say this before we patch in Cole Perry, but I mean, Manny Navarro did bring up a really good point that there's those 3 redshirt freshmen from New York that, I mean, Coach Stroud last fall camp, it was very, very high on them. He said that they were the best freshmen he's ever seen. So, and I mean, people forget about Jordan Miller too. I don't think Nesta's going to have a year where he goes to the pros, or else he'll be just like our past players who just leave early and go undrafted. But DT, I'm not as worried about as I am with linebacker, and I think that you brought up a really good point. But on that note, let's bring on Cole Perry.
Well, I'll patch him in now. Oh, what's up, man?
What's going on?
What's going on, man? All right, we now welcome on Cole Perry, lifelong Canes fan, a guy who knows almost everything going on with the Hurricanes at all times. What's going on, man? Nice to finally chat with you.
Oh, nothing, man. Just trying not to go completely stir crazy with the way everything's going on in the world right now.
Dude, it's nuts out there, man. It's nuts. I know out here in Utah they're starting to ease up a little bit, but I know in your state of Georgia things kind of went a little crazy a few days ago.
Yeah, so all my family lives in Georgia. I moved down to Orlando a couple years ago. That's where I live now. But it's crazy everywhere. I mean, it's one of those things where, the media is always gonna make things hyped up. That's their job. They need ratings. So who really knows? But hey, it is what it is.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get into some recruiting and some Canes. And so first thing I want to ask you, let's talk about Jared Williams and Isaiah Walker. Jared Williams, he has experience on the offensive line. He's blocked for De'Ara King for multiple seasons. He's a proven offensive lineman, but he only has 1 year left. And then you got Isaiah Walker, South Florida native. I always thought he was going to be a Hurricane. A lot of people thought that. They both are in the transfer portal. Which direction do you think Miami goes, and which direction do you think Miami should go in that situation?
So obviously, it comes down. There's a couple ways to look at it. I mean, obviously, we want to go. We need experience now. I mean, obviously, we need some help now. We don't really know. I mean, that's kind of hard to say though, because we really don't know until we get these guys in there with Coach Justice. We don't know what we have. We've seen what they've been able to do under previous coaching staff and previous offensive scheme, but I mean, this scheme's going to obviously make it a little better on a lot of the guys, and most. I mean, honestly, everybody's coming back from last year, so it could be better. Now, obviously, we need to add another number, so it depends on if the staff wants to go and take the kid that's got experience. And I mean, honestly, they could take both. I mean, they have the ability to basically count Walker into the 2021 class, which is a possibility if they want to do that. Obviously, we got the 3 kids for the 2021 class already locked down, and it appears that they would only take a 4th if it's an elite prospect, a national elite prospect moving forward. So. They could fill that 4th thing with just counting Walker forward. I mean, he is an elite offensive tackle prospect, so that's a possibility too. So I would honestly, if they don't think they're going to look and have a good shot at getting one of the top kids in the country, I wouldn't be opposed to just counting forward and taking both.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me, honestly. I mean, like you said, it. And we kind of saw this with the Justin Flo thing last recruiting cycle. I was like, I don't know if Miami's in the position to bet on landing these kids that are, at the very top of their position groups and stuff like that. I mean, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, right?
Exactly.
If you can get Isaiah Walker now, I mean, why do that than bet on landing one of these elite offensive tackles like the Tristan Lee kid or someone else,
Yeah, I mean, there's several that probably take, Tristan Lee. I mean, obviously, if they could flip Marcus Tate, which we thought would be impossible to flip a Clemson kid, but that's happened this year.
Yeah.
A J.C. Lantham kid from IMG, he's another one. But and Savion Byrd, obviously, from Duncanville High School over in Texas. Those are kids they probably would take. But I mean, honestly, I think Tristan Lee could honestly be the best tackle in this class. He can go anywhere.
And another thing with that to me is, I mean, if you count Walker forward, then you're getting, you're getting a 19-year-old with that scholarship as opposed to an 18-year-old, which to me is a good thing. Years and experience, and he'll have a year in a college conditioning. Strength and conditioning program. He'll be on campus, better adjusted to the college life. He'll have a personal relationship with the coaches and his teammates. I mean, that kind of sounds like a win-win-win unless you know that you got a kid that is like, noticeably better in terms of raw skills. So, I mean, I didn't really know that you could do that, but now that you've turned me on to the idea, I'd jump at that.
Yeah. So actually, obviously, everybody knows you get 85 scholarships, but the way it works is you don't get 85 scholarships total. It typically never works out that way because you only get 25 per calendar year. Okay. So every August 1st that starts over. Yeah. So they could count him as 2021, bring him in the fall, which would be probably the only time he'd get to start with COVID. And then he would be a 2021 recruit, but he would only have 4 years. So he wouldn't be able to have a redshirt year. So he would have to count this year. I'm pretty sure that's how that works whenever they
So he'd lose a year of eligibility then because he'd probably have to sit out this season. Then he'd only have 3 years after that.
Potentially. It may end up working out. I take that back. He did early enroll into Florida. So, yeah, it probably still would have 5 full years.
Okay.
And with the the NCAA is trying to pass that new rule that allows a one-time transfer, immediate eligibility to play.
Cool.
So